Today we'll be talking about the Arizona Cardinals' biggest weakness, that being pass rush. The Cardinals obviously need a lot of help. You watched last season, you know we're bottom 5 of the league. It's not great. If we're not blitzing, we're not really getting to the quarterback. And so at the end of the day, we need to make changes. Because if you watch the Super Bowl, you saw how effective a 4-man rush could be without blitzes. The Cardinals need to step up because it has become very clear how good a team can be and how much a game can change just off 4 people on that line. Now, there's a lot of good moves the Cardinals can make. There's a lot of trades, a lot of good candidates coming out this year. There's also room to grow in the draft. Now, I think more interiorly rather than on the edge. I think if we're going to go interior, I think the Cardinals will draft Kenneth Grant with our first overall pick. I had hopes for Abdul Carter, but his stock has just flown through the roof. And so the Cardinals have no way of touching him unless we trade our future. But I think Kenneth Grant's the move. Give us that Jalen Carter effect. Now, he's great at pass rush, but I know he can be effective in the pass game. And this is just one move the Cardinals can make that doesn't require us to do anything. We just have to watch the combine and make sure he's the guy we want. But these other moves, we have to go out on free agency. We have to go out and make trades. It's going to be a lot on Monty Ossenfort and what he wants to do. But the Cardinals are going to be here this year. And if we want to show up and we want to show up big, we have to add a key piece here. And that being one of these 4 guys I'm about to mention. Starting off with Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson, explosive off the edge. Cincinnati, he's also with the Saints. We've seen him be good on multiple teams. We've seen him be a great talent. And ultimately, he's going to be on the trade block. I don't think there's any way he starts for the Bengals next year unless he reduces his contract and takes a restructure. But Trey Hendrickson, I think, would be a great move. Of all the people I'm about to mention, probably the cheapest to trade for. I think he's going to be one of those players. You know, he just had a 17.5 sack season. You're going to look at when he gets traded and be like, that's all you got traded for? That's it? Well, as these other bigger names are going to get traded for more just based off name value rather than statistics. And I think Trey Hendrickson will be a surprise to many for how little he gets traded for. I think we could probably get a third. Give up a third for him. That might be reaching it, but I think a third, maybe a lower pick, throwing a 6 with it or something. I think that could get the job done. I think he'd be great in Cardinals jersey, and his pass rush speaks for itself. At the end of the day, he would be immediate impact to this team, and he would make everyone else shine around him. I think this would be a great move. Next up, we already talked about this one, but Myles Garrett. I mean, come on. This one kind of speaks for himself. Myles Garrett has been arguably the best pass rusher in this league, second to maybe TJ Watt. Talk about a guy that can come in, plug in and play instantly. We don't have to worry about anything. And our pass rush goes from bottom 5 to, honestly, from just him, probably a little over middle of the tier. That's just the effect he would have. We'd become probably top 16 if we just added him. Okay, now this one, well, I talked about it, a lot more tricky. He's that big of a name that it's going to be so hard to trade for him. It's just going to be really difficult to trade for him. I don't know the value they want. I'd give up a first. I mean, it's Myles Garrett. I'd gladly give up a first for him. But I don't know what the Browns want. And ultimately, we have to compete with other teams. It was announced that he wants to be traded. So everyone's making calls. So ultimately, the Cardinals, we're gonna have to outbeat teams if we want them. But I still think great option for the Arizona Cardinals, and I think he could just really fit right into Nick Rouse's defense. Immediate impact. Then we have Max Crosby, another player we have to trade for. But Max Crosby, I feel like he can bring more than just a passer. I feel like he can bring influence into the locker room too. He's a vet who hasn't really had his chance to compete. He wants to go to a contending team. If the Cardinals get a pass rush, I believe we can be a contending team. Not only can he perform on the field, but I believe he will perform in the locker room and be a good vet for our young guys. But also just being a dog on the field. he's gonna come in and do double-digit sacks for whoever he goes to. And so bring him in. This is another one that's a little tricky. I don't know his value. I'd give up a second for him, but he's someone who wants to compete. And given the opportunity, I think he'd be great on this defensive line, and he's a problem. He's a guy that will give you nightmares. And I think Max Crosby, of all the guys I talked about trading for, I think Max Crosby would be the best of them. The guy that can be both on-field, off-field, have impacts. And I think he would be a great move for this Arizona Cardinals team. And I wouldn't care about the picks that we'd be sending away. This is a move that I'd love to see us make. And last but not least, we got to look at free agency. Who is a good free agent right now that's going to be on the market? Coming off hot, Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat, and if you watch that Super Bowl, he was a problem. 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl. I mean, Mahomes was feeling it. He couldn't have a breath of fresh air. But he is a guy coming off, if you include playoffs, arguably his best season. And this guy has proven he can be an effective player and a guy that's going to get a bag this offseason. Now, I doubt he stays with Philly. And I think if Philly doesn't somehow tag him, or I don't know what they do, somehow just keep him there, I think the Cardinals are a great landing spot. Everybody talks about how the environment in Phoenix is where you want to be. Great weather. Just ultimately a great place to be. And you know, I think the Cardinals could sell him and bring him in here. You know, he's still a young guy, only 27, and I really think he could be our pass rusher of the future. And he's already been with the coaching. He's already been with our coaches. He's been with Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon was the defense coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he worked with Nick Rallis. Well, Nick Rallis was the linebacker coach. This ultimately feels like just a great fit. Ultimately, it would just be perfect. And under Nick Rallis, he had his most effective season with 11 sacks and an interception. I think this just everything, all the pieces of the puzzle would fit on this one. And ultimately, I think the biggest problem with this would just be how much does he want? How much do the Cardinals want to pay him? And obviously, pass rushers don't come cheap. We're probably talking in the 20 millions here. It'd be surprising to me if we got him for anything less. But 20 million, I think, would be the base here. And I'd gladly give it up. The Cardinals have one of the biggest cap spaces in this going into the season. And I think let's go ahead and spend some money. This is a great addition. I would love to see it. Like I said, I think Josh Sweat fits perfectly into the Cardinal scheme, and he's already worked with our coaches. I think all the pieces just match up. He's going to be a Cardinal. This is the one I am most confident in. Josh Sweat, get the jersey made. He's going to be a Cardinal this offseason. But those are just a few options. The Cardinals know going into this year, this is our weakest point. And Monty Ossenfort has to understand that he has to make moves here if we want success in this season. And I think we will obviously see moves be made. And hopefully we'll see one of these guys that I mentioned, because these are absolute dogs, and I think they all would fit into the scheme. But let me know down below your guys' thoughts. Do you agree or disagree with any of the players I have mentioned? Or do you have players of your own that I overlooked? Let me know down below, and be sure to hit that like and sub button. With that being said, I'll see you on the next one.